This is a pair of Crocs. No matter where you are in the world, it is very likely that you have seen someone wear it. Despite being named one of the worst inventions in human history, it has since achieved a level of market dominance that most brands would die for. Since its release in 2002, more than 850 million of these shoes have been sold worldwide. For years, these shoes were described as being ugly and a total fashion disaster. It was mocked by critics and treated as a joke by the mainstream media. But what made these shoes successful? Crocs were never designed for style or high street fashion. Their original purpose was purely utilitarian. They were shoes built specifically for boating. The three founders were on a sailing trip when they realized they needed a shoe that wouldn't slip on wet decks and wouldn't hold water. They discovered a special material developed by a Canadian company. This material is called Crocs. It isn't rubber, and it isn't exactly plastic. It is a closed-cell resin. This material possesses three characteristics that change the footwear industry forever. First, it is antimicrobial and odor-resistant. Because it is a closed-cell foam, bacteria cannot live inside the material. Second, it is incredibly lightweight. Third, it is a thermoplastic material. This means it reacts to your body heat. As you wear the shoe, it becomes warm and automatically molds to the exact shape of your foot. While the fashion world turns its nose up at the design, a specific group of professionals saw immediate value. Medical staff, chefs, and construction workers, people who spend more than 12 hours a day on their feet, found these shoes to be a godsend. For them, comfort is a functional requirement, while looking good is simply an afterthought. However, the journey wasn't always a straight line to the top. In 2008, Crocs faced a severe financial crisis that brought the company to the brink of bankruptcy. During the global financial meltdown, the brand's rapid overexpansion and a sudden drop in consumer spending led to a massive surplus of unsold inventory. As the company lost over $180 million in a single year, many analysts predicted that the ugly shoe fad was finally over. To solve this crisis and stabilize the business, the company slashed their production lines to focus on their high-margin models and closed hundreds of underperforming retail stores to reduce overhead. Most importantly, they moved away from being just a functional boat shoe and began a series of marketing shifts that embrace their unique aesthetics. In the world of brand management, having the entire world call your product ugly is usually a public relations disaster. However, they didn't try to argue with the public. Instead, they leaned into the criticism. This is a psychological strategy known as reverse psychology marketing. By voluntarily embracing the ugly label, the brand transformed a constant stream of negative attack into a highly recognizable brand memory point. In business, being hated is actually better than being forgotten. If a product is so mediocre that no one talks about it, your marketing costs will be astronomical. But when Crocs become synonym with the world's ugliest suit, it gained free viral word-of-mouth power. They successfully turned ugly into a rebellious attitude of nonconformity. For Gen Z and younger demographics, wearing a shoe that the world found unattractive is a form of self-expression. This transition from utility to identity was a critical step in conquering the global fashion scene. While Crocs gave Crocs its life, a small accessory gave it its soul. In 2006, Crocs acquired a company called Jibbitz. These are the creators of the small charms that plug into the hole on the shoe's surface. At the time, it seemed like a small purchase, but it transformed a mass-produced, impersonal plastic shoes into a blank canvas for self-creation. From a business perspective, this was the platformization of a product. A Croc became a platform for Jibbitz. Every child, teenager, and adult could DIY their own shoes. This sense of user engagement drastically increased the perceived value of the product. You weren't just buying a shoe, you were buying a way to show your personality. Following this came a series of aggressive limited edition collaborations. When Crocs appeared on the Balenciaga runway with a platform heel, or collaborated with KFC to release a fried chicken-scented shoe, it moved entirely out of the cheap plastic shoe category. They utilized scarcity to control market sentiment. By partnering with high fashion houses and cultural icons like Justin Bieber or Post Malone, Crocs successfully entered premium markets they previously couldn't reach. They turned $50 shoes into limited edition collectibles that sold for hundreds on the resale market. Finally, we have to look at the secret to their survival from a financial perspective, the profit margin. Traditional sneakers from brands like Nike or Adidas are incredibly complex to manufacture. They require cutting thousands of pieces of fabric and leather, followed by intricate soling and gluing processes that demand significant labor and time. A typical sneaker can have over 50 different parts. Crocs, however, are an injection molded product. The construction is remarkably simple. It consists primarily of two parts, the body and the strap. The manufacturing process involves injecting the liquid cross-lite resin into a metal mold. The process only takes seconds. This means the cost of goods sold is extremely low. Because the manufacturing doesn't require complex manual labor, it can be scaled and automated easily. When the production cost is only a few dollars, but the company can maintain a retail price between $50 and $100 due to brand equity, the profit margins are astronomical. This high-margin, low-complexity model gives Crocs the massive cash flow needed to fund global expansion and expensive marketing budgets. The success of Crocs wasn't because the shoe suddenly became beautiful. It won because it mastered both a psychological war and an economic one. It used material science to win on comfort, reverse psychology to win on brand recognition, platformization to win the youth market, and simplified manufacturing to win on profits. It proved that in a modern economy, as long as your strategy is precise enough, you can stand at the top of the world even if the whole world calls you ugly. Thank you for watching.